Good afternoon and welcome to the Alex Urbina radio show. I'm broadcasting live from my home today, right here in your hometown station, KHTS. Today I'll be talking with Andrew Delgado, who is in the studio today in beautiful Newhall, California. Thanks for joining me today on the air, Andrew.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Absolutely.
It's a tough time.
Listen, I want to talk. Yes, it is. I would love to talk to you about millennials during this coronavirus time. And since you are in your early 30s, you're considered a millennial, correct?
Yes, just on the cusp. Sometimes I wish I wasn't, but
yeah, I know. So you're right there. You're kind of hanging by a thread as a millennial in today's world. You know, I read an article about a couple days ago, and it said that the millennials are not taking the coronavirus thing too serious. Why do you think that is? I'd like to hear your take on that.
I think because of the early reports of how this was only affecting the elderly and those, you know, of older age and those who have pre-existing conditions. That was the initial reports coming out. And so you think that, and as a millennial I'm speaking, you know, devil's advocate, you'd be like, oh, it doesn't affect me. I'm young. I'm in my 20s. I'm healthy as can be, healthiest I've been. And so they didn't, you know, like, oh, it's not going to affect me. So I think that's where they were coming from as the not take it seriously.
Okay, so let me repeat back what I'm hearing you say. It sounds like you're saying when this all started, you know, 2-3 weeks ago, maybe even sooner than that, we were making reports in the media that information was coming back from us either through China or through Italy, that the reports were saying that it wasn't really affecting younger people, that it was only directly affecting the elderly or the seniors. And so what I'm hearing you say is that when you heard that information, you kind of locked it in as though it was the truth, and that it's not going to be a situational thing, or it's not going to be an ongoing thing. And then once you lock that in, you just decided that you guys are not susceptible to it, or?
Yeah, I feel like that's what the majority of the younger people out there that didn't take this seriously believed and felt. Kind of, you know, they're invincible. And at that time, we do think that we're invincible anyways, like coronavirus aside, that nothing can hurt us, pretty much. A lot of us come from that mentality. But with this and getting all the reports that, yeah, it only affected the elderly, like I was saying, then they, you know, didn't pay any mind and can beat it. And once the symptoms were presented of, you know, it's just a cough, things like that, a fever, but you'll get over it, then they took that into it too, saying, I'm healthy, I could just beat this thing, so it doesn't matter if I get it.
So I'm glad that you talked a little bit about this I'm invincible mindset, because I also agree with you. From my own experience of working with young people for over 25 years, I feel also that the millennials have this, you know, invincible way of thinking that nothing's gonna hurt me. I'm okay. I got this, which is a great positive attitude to have. But I think there's a line that distinguishes the difference between being positive and also being aware to what could come down the pipeline, right? Like what's possible. And so I think because the I'm invincible mindset, you've been grown up in a world where your parents have always told you got this, right? You can do it. Anything is at your fingertips. That there's this part of you guys that are, you know, you're really confident, you're really sure of yourself. And I also don't think that you guys have ever gone through some kind of huge tragedy other than 9/11. And so I don't think you've really seen a lot of suffering because your parents, and I'm just talking about you, Andrew, I'm talking about all millennials. I feel like as parents of the Generation X era, we love our kids so much that we want to protect them. And so we somewhat coddle them because we love them so much that we bail them out of misery. We support them when they don't have enough to support themselves. So we kind of jump in and we bail out our kids, and we save them from suffering or struggling. And I think that that's part of the mindset that has these kids saying, I'm good, like nothing's going to happen to me.
Right, and you brought up 9/11 and how the younger youth maybe lived through that, but in reality, the younger in their 20s, they were babies. They were 2, 3, 4 years old, and didn't really even know what was going on then. And so they are young adults with this mentality, going on spring break. I don't know if you saw those videos in that video report of college kids' ages, which are the 21-year-olds, going to spring break with not a care in the world. And this was a few days ago.
Yeah, I saw it. I mean, I had to shake my head quietly, and then I try to put myself in the shoes of being a teenager, like when I was a teenager. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not gonna, try to, stand here as an adult and as a parent and talk down to young people, because I was once a teenager, and I remember feeling invincible myself. I remember, just challenge. I think it's just part of being young. You think like, oh, that's not going to happen to me, until it does, and that's where you learn. I think your biggest life lesson is when you're paying the price, right? The problem here is that if you're paying the price, where if you catch this virus, the price that you'd have to pay could be very painful, and it could actually lead to your death. But technically, it's no different than a teenager or a young adult who's drinking and driving or taking risks out there and doing stupid things because they think they're invincible. But I think what really gets people riled up is because it's not like it's just going to be you that you're going to affect. It's because you could play a part where you actually carry this virus and not know it, and could possibly be a carrier and bring it on to other people. I think that's the part where people really go from shaking their head to getting upset and getting frustrated, because we think to ourselves, man, these millennials just don't get it, right?
Right, and I think you hit it on the head when you mentioned that it's not real until it happens to me mentality. And they're just not getting it. And yes, they might, from their defense, might be okay, they might beat it. It might just be a simple flu to them personally if they do contract the virus. However, what you mentioned is that's not what the biggest fear is. It's just spreading it more. And that's why this stay-at-home order was put in place, was to, yes, benefit you, but also benefit everybody, because a lot of times you don't know if you have it or not, and you're spreading it. Or even if you have it and are fine, you can still spread it to those that will not be fine, potentially.
I actually have another theory, too, and this is just a theory I created from working with young people, again, like I said, for over 20 years. I'm noticing a trend in my experience of young people that year by year, kids are slowly disconnecting from their experiences, their feelings, their emotions, their heart. And I'm experiencing more and more kids that haven't developed the ability to be vulnerable, or really to tap into a deep level of being compassionate. And when you break down the distinction of compassion means that you feel for other people in their suffering. And I think that millennials today, not all of them, but a good portion of them, don't allow themselves to be hooked by their heart and watching other people suffer. Not because they don't have that ability, it's because they just don't sit in front of the news and watch. Here's an example. So a news broadcast comes out and it's showing some people out in Italy where you're watching these older people that are got these masks on their face hooked up to a respirator, and they're coughing, and you can see their body shaking, and you're watching them slowly die. Even if it's a quick 3-second video piece, I don't see millennials watching that stuff. I don't see them tuned in. And if it does pop up, because I can see some of my own younger adult kids, when some of that stuff comes up, they either turn their head or, and so maybe it's challenging for millennials to really allow themselves to be hooked by their heart and watching people suffer. Because if they did, it would instantly cause a new awareness to say, wow, man, maybe this thing is important. Maybe this is serious. And then all of a sudden it changes the game.
Yeah, I can see that as well. And more of the, I don't know how to feel, or I want to feel, but I don't know how to, so I'm going to, act tough and just say, oh, this doesn't even matter. It's the flu, or, I'll beat this. Just that young person mentality, because that's who I was not too distant ago. I would have said the same thing, like, I wouldn't have been fine, not thinking where I go, who I pass it to, who they potentially can pass it to. So I think parents should talk to not only your little toddlers but your teenagers as well.
So then that brings up the possibility that most young people aren't really feeling their feelings. They're not experiencing their experiences. Because if they would, there would be some vulnerability. There would be some compassion. And then if you open up a dialogue, you would hear some sharing like, wow, Mommy, that really hurts my heart. Or, wow, that's sad. I hope that doesn't happen to you. Or it would open up a dialogue. This is how I know that a lot of young people aren't feeling their feelings. They're not experiencing their experiences, and they're numbing out. Because when I have parents want to sit down and have discussions, kids don't want to talk about their feelings. And what you talked about earlier when you said that, yeah, kids seem like they don't feel their feelings, well, then they have to have a coping mechanism in there. The coping mechanism doesn't allow them to feel that pain, feel that hurt or that compassion for watching someone suffer. So a great coping mechanism is to go out and just have fun, right? Just to ignore it. A good coping mechanism,
Yeah.
I think, for most human beings is, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm going to go out and have fun.
And that's what we can't do. And Alex, can you talk to, if you're a parent, how do you connect to your child or teenager or young adult to say, to bring some seriousness to what's going on?
I would love to talk about that because it's actually what I am going through now. Just because I'm a coach and just because I've been doing, having my conscious journey for many years, and my family has been developing, and self-aware themselves, doesn't mean I don't have my own challenges or my kids don't have their own challenges. But I've been doing it recently where I give myself permission to call my kids out on it. I'm the type of parent where I will sit my son down or have my daughter and say, hey, I'm noticing you're doing these things. Like, what's up with that? And then we'll get into a dialogue. Like, I challenge my kids. I challenge their beliefs. I challenge the way they think. I challenge the choices they make. So we're a kind of type of family where we challenge each other from a loving, respectful way, right? But I challenge them sometimes, and I don't mind cornering them and go, hey, I noticed that when these the news comes on, you walk out of the room. Like, what's up with that? You need to be able to be educated about what's going on around you. You can't just put your head, in the sand and avoid things, because there's going to be things that you're going to have to develop within yourself that you're going to need later on. So to answer that question, for me, is I give myself permission to just challenge my kids, or I'll ask them or I'll invite them to sit down and either watch something with me, or I'll open up a dialogue to discuss it. And then when they don't feel like discussing it, I might now open up the discussion about that. Like, hey, how come this makes you feel uncomfortable? What's up with that? Or how do you think you're going to be out in the world and have a job and be in a dialogue, and what are you going to do when it gets uncomfortable and your boss wants to have this conversation with you? Are you just going to quit, or are you going to run and hide? So a lot of times my conversations with my kids is challenging, but challenging in a way that really makes them think. It's called self-awareness. I don't tell them they're bad and wrong because they're not watching the news or because they don't like to listen or whatever, but I definitely make sure that I highlight it, because that's my job as a father. I believe that's my theory.
Great. All right, let's take a quick commercial break, then we'll come right back. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
are taking over our city. They've invaded our homes, our businesses, and most importantly, our sleep. If you have suspicious bites that appear nightly or have a bug that you need ID'd, your best option is to make one call to All Pro. We offer a 100% guarantee that your bedbug issues will be solved with heat in one treatment. No need to tent or spray your house with chemicals. Heat is all you need. Call 661-298-2200 or text me a bug picture to 661-645-0540. It's time to sleep tight again, STV.
At iLead Agua Dulce, we believe the most important thing a child can learn in school is who they are. Life's real tests are never standardized, which is why we've developed an individual-based curriculum that values exploration, cooperation, and creativity. As our learners grow, so do we. Our tuition-free charter school is currently enrolling grades TK through 7th and adding 8th grade in 2020. Your young learner will be immersed in a unique environment where possibility and self-discovery are at the core of every experience. The Agua Dulce campus features beautiful indoor and outdoor spaces for hands-on inspiration, including a robotics lab, a garden bed, a greenhouse, and a technology-based exploratorium. iLead Agua Dulce is conveniently located on the east side of the Santa Clarita Valley, just off the 14 freeway. Check out our homeschool options too. To schedule a campus tour or learn more about our programs, visit ileadaguadulce.org. We're enrolling now. iLead Schools. Free to think, inspired to lead.
Marston's Restaurant has been a Pasadena landmark, voted the best breakfast in California by the Food Network magazine. Discover Marston's Santa Clarita location, open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Marston's also has a fantastic catering menu that adds a delicious twist to any event. And they cater picnic dinners for that memorable romantic date. Experience Marston's on Newhall Ranch Road and McBean, or log on to marstonsrestaurant.com.
Hi, Kirk Stinson here with Plumbing by Kirk, your hometown plumber, here to let you know that it's sometimes more cost-effective to have Plumbing by Kirk fix it than to have your husband wrestle with those plumbing problems. And if you play your cards right, you might not have to let him know that we were even there. We invite you to visit our website for free plumbing advice at plumbingbykirk.com or give us a call, 263-6519. That's 263-6519.
My dad is the best plumber ever. Call Plumbing by Kirk.
Green Thumb International, your lawn and garden professionals, have the widest variety of shrubs, flowering plants, and garden supplies in the Santa Clarita Valley. Condition and fertilize your soil. Water does not easily penetrate clay soils and may pass too quickly beyond the root zone of plants in sandy soil. Adding organic matter to these soils will help correct imbalances and reduce water waste. On Newhall Avenue in Old Town Newhall near Sierra Highway, Green Thumb puts the green in your thumb.
The Art Gallery of Santa Clarita Artists Association, located in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Railroad and Main, features local members' original artwork with changing exhibits every 2 months. Purchase affordable art for your home or as gifts. Open Friday through Sunday or by appointment. Artists wishing to join the SCAA can visit santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming shows, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Hometown, your hometown station.
And welcome back to the Alex Urbina radio show. I'm broadcasting live from my home today in Santa Clarita, and I'm talking to my producer of the show, Andrew Delgado. He's live in the studio. Thanks for joining me today. Today we're talking about the millennials not taking the coronavirus too serious. We had a great discussion, I think, the last 20 minutes, so if you missed that, you might want to go back and watch that. Before I move on to the next topic, I want to just give a shout-out and make an announcement that we have some pretty incredible people in the community here in Santa Clarita, if you haven't already discovered that. And most of us, we know how blessed we are to have angels in the community looking out for each other. There's this project, the Project SEV. They have created a new movement called SOS, Serving Our Santa Clarita Seniors. And they are committed to helping the seniors that are struggling through this coronavirus self-quarantine or self-isolation, the timeout that we're all taking in our community to really help not pass this virus on. And I guess there's some seniors out there that aren't plugged into social media. They're not on the internet. And they could be at home really struggling with not being able to find the supplies they need to get just the essentials. Some of them are going out there and finding these empty shelves, and they're discouraged. Some of them are told that there's early hours at the markets, and they're going in there because it's designated just for seniors, and they get there to find that the stores can't even be stocked overnight appropriately or properly for them, and so they're really I feel like they're let down, and they just lost hope, I think. And this group, the Project SEV, serving our Santa Clarita seniors, has decided that they're going to look out for the seniors during this time. And I'm really excited because they're putting together a drive. So you can drive through and donate any kind of goods for the seniors here in Santa Clarita. It's going to be a drive-through on March 24th. That's next Tuesday, March 24th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The drop-off location is at the Sanctuary Church near the Friendly Valley area. Again, March 24th, on next Tuesday from 10 to 2. And I believe they said that you can just pull up, open your door, and just set the bag down. And that way you don't have to have any interaction and expose yourself. But they're looking for all kinds of extra things you might have, like pasta or rice or anything canned, vegetable, meats, powdered milk, peanut butter, whatever you feel like you can donate. And while you're out there, maybe you even think of grabbing something specifically for this movement to really help the seniors in our community. And Andrew, man, it warms my heart to know that people are out there, committed to helping serve the seniors out there in Santa Clarita that might have been forgotten.
Right, and just like, on an airplane when they do that procedure, make sure you put the mask on yourself first and then help others. Make sure your family's good to go. And then if you can, help your neighbors and everything like that, and there's a perfect program to do that.
It's funny because we were talking about being vulnerable and compassionate, and by being compassionate means that you identify with the suffering of someone else. It's like putting yourself in their shoes and wondering what it must feel like to be going through what they're going through. And part of the people that have that huge heart and they are vulnerable and compassionate, they're the ones that can feel that. They can feel the pain of watching somebody suffer. And we were talking about how a good possibility that the millennials haven't developed that part of them, where they just numb out or they avoid or pretend not to know that people around them are suffering. And so when it comes to seniors, when you're out there shopping for yourself, looking out for your own family, or potentially looking out for your own self, because that's what we go to the market for, is to grab our own essentials to take care of ourselves. We could be potentially walking by seniors and not realizing it. Like I was out there last week, and I walked probably by, who knows, maybe even a dozen before I even noticed one. And when I noticed one and stopped to help them, when I was done, now I could not see them anymore. It was like everywhere I turned, I just saw an elderly person who was just getting wished by, some of them getting knocked over, some people were grabbing carts in front of them, some of them weren't, beating them to the line. And it hurts my heart to be able to see that, but also to realize that at some point when I was in my own mode where I was focused, I obviously didn't see them until the first time that I noticed it. What's your take on millennials when it comes to the elderly and what they might be suffering? Do you think it's maybe they identify if they have their own grandparents that they love, or maybe they watched one of their grandparents suffering at the end of their life?
Yeah, and I think that's where it hits home for those that don't at first think, like we were saying earlier, affects me. It directly affects you. If you're even if your grandparents aren't in your life or even in your house, they are living wherever they're living at, a home or anything like that. So it does affect them, and you can help by, staying at home and washing your hands and doing what the CDC and the county has been saying to do and follow those rules. But I think they do have compassion, but once they, relax and actually think about their grandparents, because if they're not in their life or don't live with them, like I said, they might not be thinking about them. But if they stop to think, and if you bring it up to them, then it'll settle in more, I believe, with millennials that is not top of mind of.
I think that's what really hooked my heart is, when I stopped and, locked eyes on the first grandma that I saw, it was like seeing my own grandma there, with her cane and trying to get. She was literally trying to get from the door inside, and it just broke my heart. And so to be able to stop her and ask her if I can help her and what she needed, and I just told her, stand right here, stay here, let me go grab some of those, whatever you need. And it made me feel good, but two, the look on her face, man, it was like watching a little kid that was so afraid of going on a scary ride, and you just told them, it's okay, you don't have to go on.
Right, because
the relief in her face, yeah.
Because I do believe sometimes, even before this, that seniors oftentimes get treated as second-class citizens, as how they're old, they already lived their life, or they are forgotten or looked over. And when, like you were just saying, when you help them out and notice them, they lit up. They're like, oh my gosh, you noticed me, for all the hundreds that walked past me, or even potentially took my goods that I was getting there. I was just, older and couldn't get there as fast. When you stopped and actually helped them, that goes a long way. And you saw it firsthand when they brightened up, and they were shocked, really. And it's just, with this and all the great things that are going on, if more people would stop and appreciate our seniors before it's too late, before they're gone, because oftentimes we do appreciate our seniors, but when it's too late.
Yeah, and it's as you took over the conversation and started sharing, it just really hit me, and I can't stop the tears from coming down my face, because it hurts my heart to see that, one, we didn't really have a system set up to support them. But that's why I'm so grateful for, people like the Project SEV, who stepped up and said, you know what, we get to stand up for these people. We get to stand up for the elderly people in our community, because they can't stand up for themselves anymore. They're already, kind of afraid of the world. They've been hiding out for such a long time, and
we just have to be better.
But however they got the news, I'm sure they heard the news at some point of what's going on, and they're like, just imagine trying to muster up the courage of getting out to the local market to get food when you're watching on TV all the shortages and all the lines, and then you're seeing people fighting. It's got to be scary for them. It really does. Right. And my heart goes out to them. That's why I'm grateful for what Project SEV is doing.
And thank you, Alex. We're actually going to cut live to our daily update from Los Angeles County Supervisor Catherine Barger. Here she is live.